Welcome back, everybody. And let me try that again. Welcome back, everybody. This is the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. That is probably the first time in at least 150 episodes that I've messed up my own introduction. This is Dr. Joe Salustio back with you on another episode. Of course, as you know, here at the EdUp Experience, we leave all of our mistakes in, so you'll get to hear me flub that introduction because, you know what? It's messy. We live in a messy world. We're trying to all make sense of it, and we're all human, so we leave in the mistakes here at EdUp. I'm definitely human. I make a lot of mistakes around here. One mistake I do not make, though, is reminding the audience of a couple ways that we'd like to for you to consider engaging with the EdUp Experience. Number one, and I believe this episode will be coming out before July 12th of 2025. And if it does, you're going to hear ads, and you're going to hear me talking about Higher Ed Pod Con, all kind of one word, higheredpodcon.com. Elvin and I and some of our collaborators are putting on the first ever higher education conference dedicated to podcasting and telling stories about in and around higher education. We've got podcasters coming from all across the country, institutions all across the country, well-known institutions. And when you think podcaster and higher education, what kind of persona comes to mind? I always ask that question because I think people think it's some back office communications thing. No, we've got college presidents that have podcasts that are coming to PodCon. We've got faculty that do podcasts that are coming to PodCon. We've got marketing, enrollment, alumni, teaching and learning, assessment. Podcasting is a powerful media. It's July 12th, 2025 in Chicago, Illinois, on the campus of the University of Illinois, Chicago. So come support your most powerful storytellers in higher ed by coming to Higher Ed PodCon. And as I said, you can go to higheredpodcon.com. Number two, and just as importantly, you know what we've done? We've taken a part of our website and we're publishing articles that our colleagues across higher education write. Maybe you want to write something that's going on at your university that's good, an innovation, a new program, a building that you're building, students that you helped. Those are the stories that we need to tell if we're going to regain the public trust in higher education. You can't always get those in wide-ranging publications. So the EdUp Experience is publishing those. And we're sending those out to our worldwide audience, and we're promoting them on behalf of our colleagues. All you got to do is sit down with a pen and paper, a computer, and write something up, and we're going to publish it for you. And with that, we're actually going to get to the point of why we're here today, and that's to talk to an amazing college leader, but I have a first-time guest co-host with me. She's here. That we know. She's here, and she's ready. Ladies and gentlemen, let me bring her in right now. She's Dr. Noreen Golfman. She is a former provost, recovering senior administrator, as she said, and podcaster. Noreen, how are you?
I'm excellent. Very, very happy to be here, all the way from Canada.
All the way province might you be in Canada?
I'm in the wonderful, great province of Newfoundland, the most eastern part of this continent.
I would imagine it's nice and beautiful this time of year. Up
it
there.
Is and you might actually hear with my open windows a little bit of leaf rustling, but yeah, it's pretty staggeringly gorgeous. You really have to visit.
Yes, and cold in the winter though, right?
No, we're right on the sea, much more moderate than anything you think about the north.
It must be because you seem very happy, so it must be just beautiful weather there all the time.
I am very happy, but that's another podcast.
That is. We could talk all about that, but not today. Today, we're going to talk to our amazing guest. We're going to bring him on to the microphone right now. He's leading an amazing college, doing amazing work. Here he is. He's Dr. Jermaine F. Williams. He's the president at Montgomery College. Jermaine, welcome to an EdUp Mic. How are you?
I am well. It's great to be with you, Joe. Thanks for having me.
If you're finding value in these conversations, consider supporting Elvin and Joe. As a supporter, you'll get early ad-free access, plus exclusive leadership-focused content. It's only $5.99 a month or $44.99 a year. You can also donate or even gift a subscription to a colleague at edupexperience.com. That's edupexperience.com.
Thanks for being here. I love bow ties. I love people that can pull off a bow tie. So because we only produce the audio on the episodes and not the video, I want to tell you that Jermaine is wearing an incredible bow tie. I can't tie a bow tie. I've never been able to tie one. I look horrible in a bow tie, but I'm envious of people that look good in a bow tie. Is that a normal thing, the bow tie, or is it tie/bow tie and you alternate?
It's a normal thing. The bow tie is pretty much that's my thing, and actually so much so that we actually have a communication series on bow ties and backpacks.
Nice.
Actually, you can check it out on social media. But yes, it is, and it's one of the components about that is share briefly is it is actually not about me. It is about engaging the community because the bow tie represents individuality that we all have in some way, shape, or form, and the backpack represents the journey that we all have. So bow ties and backpacks, a series, it's an awesome series that the marketing communications team here at Montgomery College we have devised, and we have these just backpack chats or backpacks on the go, and then our chats, which are longer series with faculty, staff, alumni. But it's really cool. It's a great way to engage with the larger community, especially at MC, where our students represent 157 nations, and there's more than 45,000 students that we're serving and more than 4,000 employees. So it's a really great way to get out and be around and just be part of the community. So
I love the idea of individualized or personalized or differentiation generally. And so level set for the audience. Montgomery College is its own thing, its own school with its own identity. Tell us a little bit about Montgomery College. Where are you? Who do you serve? And how do you serve them?
Yes, thank you for that. I journeyed into that a little bit, and I'll move into a little bit deeper. So Montgomery College in Maryland, there are several Montgomery colleges or kind of a variation of throughout the country, but we are in Maryland. We are in Montgomery County, Maryland. If you know of Washington, D.C., Montgomery County is one of the counties that is contingent to Washington, D.C. So that is where, depending on how you're starting your journey within our county, that is where the county may start. If you start on the westerly part of the county, that is where the county will end for you. So we are there, a population of about a little more than 1 million people in Montgomery County. Very, very diverse. One of the largest in the county Salvadoran populations outside of El Salvador. One of the largest Ethiopian populations outside of Ethiopia. As I said, our institution has individuals from 157 countries, serving a little more than 45,000 students. We are an HSI. We also are an ANAPISI. For those people listening who don't know the post-secondary education alphabet soup, we are a Hispanic serving institution. We are Asian American, Native American, Pacific Islander serving institution. About 1 in 5 of our students identifies as Black or African American as an IPED demographic categories. About 1 in 4 of our students are Pell recipients, and even in one of the wealthiest counties in the country, their average annual take home is less than $29,000, which is pretty staggering. If you Google Montgomery County and some of the communities that are here, a take home of less than $29,000 is very interesting. About 11% of our students are international students. 14 to 18% of our students are parenting students. 36% of our students have experienced food insecurity in the past 30 days. 50% of our students self-identify as first generation. I self-identify, Joe, because it's very important. We do not put a definition on it. We let them operationalize that. And however they feel and embrace the idea of first generation, they provide us with their answer. And there are a litany of other things I could share. We have 3 campuses, several centers. I could go on and on about Montgomery College and who we are. And there are things that I left out or things you'd like to probe or ask me to amplify. I'm sure you'll dive in.
Maureen, I'm going to pass it. Noreen, I'm going to pass it to you in just a second. But let me just ask one quick follow up.
Sure.
I want to just double down maybe when think wealthy county, not you, all of us think wealthy county. We don't think about Pell recipients typically. We think that people are just paying for college, no problem. Parents are sending kids to school, not a big issue. That's not the reality of it, is it?
No, absolutely not. And when we think about just the diversity in so many ways that our county represents, it shows itself in a data point that I just shared. Almost 1 in 5 of our students are Pell recipients, and I think that also speaks to, Joe, you said double down. I'm going to going to amplify that. I think it speaks to the beautiful history, the beautiful tradition, and I would say trajectory of community colleges. And community colleges, as we know their history, and if you don't know, here's a 30-second piece of it, very oversimplified, designed to create, awesome academic experiences, high-level academic experiences that are accessible, geographically accessible, and affordable. So we are serving our communities, however our communities may shape and shift and change over time. We are the community's college, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so very proud to work in the community college sector and at Montgomery College.
Well, that's given a lot of grist for a mill here to talk to you about, Jermaine. You've been there since 22?
That is accurate. Yes, Noreen.
Yeah, so is job getting any easier, harder? You look very well rested. Yeah, what keeps you up at night?
Well, what doesn't keep me up at night but the look is maybe it's the Diet Coke look. I don't know. It's that part of the day. I'm an early riser, so probably around 12, 1 o'clock is if I need to engage in a little caffeine situation. It is Diet Coke for me. I would say also I don't want to sound cliche, and people listening can determine whether or not this does. I genuinely love what I do. And when I have an opportunity to talk about what I do, what we do, our passion for education, this life kind of transformational opportunity that we know really impacts our society, not just individuals, but our entire society, with individuals such as yourself, whom are as dedicated. It excites me. So I'm also really enthused about just being here today. What keeps me up at night? I'm not kind of moving away from your question. I will get to it. I promise. I always come back to the parking lot to pick up my car. So I will. So we'll get to it. Keeps me up. There's a lot of things. I mean, I could go with the, generative AI or cybersecurity and false applications and protecting data. And yes, those are immensely, I think about those frequently, extremely important. One of the things I do think about a lot, though, is transformational change at scale. I do think about the inequalities and inequities that we see in our community, the ones that we have been seeking to ameliorate, extinguish, terminate, address for decades upon decades, and we see how several of those are still present. And I do think about, I do spend a lot of time really considering how we address that and how we do it in a way that is systemic and systematic. I'm a big structure function person. So I share with folks all the time. Even before I started, I started thinking about, what could be put in place that will outlive me. Not because I plan on leaving Montgomery College soon, because I don't. I'm very, very happy. And I believe people are very happy with my leadership. Is that it is about how we're creating for the future. Right. And that's what I look at. And those things maybe don't hit the news all the time. Right. But when you can do that in a way that is systemic and systematic, it doesn't matter. It matters who the leaders are, and it matters who trustees are. That always matters. But you have that foundation that you're just consistently building off and making things better, as opposed to trying to, create new things from scratch that are going to, either be boutique programs or address just a really small population. So,
but it's hard to resist the trends, isn't it? I mean, I say this as somebody who was in a senior position for a long time, and you get caught up in stuff that is flowing in the atmosphere, whether, micro-credentialing or changing your curriculum to serve certain thematic interests of the moment, or it's, finding that balance, not easy to do. It's a hard job.
Agreed. And it's, again, being in places and spaces with individuals who have the experience. I will say what helps us I use the I statement. I believe what helps us at Montgomery College, and I know definitely what helps me is that we've really been able to identify and lean into what we share and what we discuss and uplift and amplify as our transformational aspirations, right? And we have a strategic plan. It's a 5-year plan. These transformational aspirations are these 10-year aspirations. And they're really, to your point, Noreen, around like, okay, there's all these things happening. They are around access, completion, and post-completion success, right? And when we think about that, access is creating a college-going culture. So ensuring that more individuals are able to avail themselves of the opportunities at Montgomery College. I would say in a more philosophical, kind of bigger picture, it's post-secondary education, although we definitely want them to come to Montgomery College. And I could share more about that. The completion is ensuring that every educational opportunity has economic, social, and community impact. And that post-completion success really dives into something that we've always been committed to, and we now have metrics for, which is ensuring that individuals have a family-sustaining wage that leads to individual upward economic and social mobility, which then, portends intergenerational mobility. And I can dive into all those things. We have a dashboard and metrics, and we're really keeping ourselves accountable. But to your earlier point of, when so many things are swirling, we are at a place right now, and I may say it more than once, I stand on the shoulders of giants. My predecessors are awesome. And we're at a place now where if it's within this framework, that's how and if we make it work and how we make it apply to Montgomery College. So it's the lens in which we look through all of these initiatives that are varying and that are ever evolving that help us apply it if we are going to our framework here at MC.
Tell them like it is.
Absolutely. You mentioned your strategic plan. Everybody's got one. Mission statements, interchangeable. 10 keywords, not to sound glib or cynical, but they're important. They're absolutely useful benchmarking documents, and the whole process leading up to them is absolutely critical. Could you pull out 2 or 3 of your major aspirational points or objectives out of your current plan?
Absolutely. So there are, and I'll share, I know you asked for 2 or 3, and I do like to follow rules at the same time. I like to see opportunities and pursue those as well. Our strategic plan, I would say, is, I wouldn't say it's a unicorn. However, it is a little different than several strategic plans that I've seen. And I will say in the sense of, you won't see, enhanced student services. Right, you won't see about a specific division. So what you'll see in terms of our strategic plan is a life cycle, if you will, right? And there could be, you could start at different points, but really when we look at our goals, it's about first goal is, and I'll just net it out, is about a deeper partnership with the community. The second goal is about creating a sense of belonging for everyone at the institution. The third goal is about enhancing educational and organizational effectiveness. And the fourth goal is about impact, individual impact and impact for the community. So it's a little bit of a different, I think, in some context and based on some documents that I'm sure you've seen, it's a little bit of a different approach. And that's, I think, it speaks to the voices that created it. Jermaine didn't fall asleep on Friday and create Montgomery College's strategic plan. This was a very inclusive process. So I take a lot of pride in the individuals who participated in, but those are the four goals. So.
And they seem very intimately related. Sorry, Joe, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say you took the question right out of my mouth, because literally yesterday someone asked me, and I can't give you the context or the reasons, but the person says, do presidents even really look at their strategic plans? I mean, they make it and they have to do it, and they got to bring it to the board, but are they really looking at it? Should I look at my strategic plan? Is my president going to know that I looked at it or didn't look at it? And I said, well, that's a really interesting point, right? Because I think that varies across institutions, probably varies across presidents. But it is something we talk about. Noreen said it. We all have one. We all need one. Board approves them. how do we really use them, or are we really using a strategic plan? Forget the word plan, because I don't like the word plan necessarily. One of the presidents I interviewed said pathways. They use it. It's called the strategic pathways because it's always evolving, and a plan seems to be something that creates dust because it never comes to fruition the way you want. But a pathway, it's always evolving, and I thought that's unique. But how are we really using it? Could you give us a little bit of insight? Pull back the rug.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, and I would say, it depends on, your favorite contronym, right? If it's dust that is, kind of falling on something to, create something magnificent, right? I'm going to dust this delicious cupcake with some cinnamon. Then
I like this.
Maybe in that case, the strategic plan is a good thing. If it's I'm just going to wipe this away in kind of that form of dust. Again, pick your favorite contronym, and we can have a conversation about those things. So strategic plan, the way in which we leverage it is, yes, it is board approved. What I will share also is that, and you can kind of go through the paces with this. Every year at our retreat, it's the board's retreat, is we identify, based on an inclusive process, intended outcomes from our strategic plan. So our strategic plan has goals, has strategies, has indicators, and has intended outcomes. The intended outcomes are really what we want to see. That's what we want to see happen. The strategies are kind of, I don't want to say our best guess, but it's our best thinking at the time. Noreen, to your point earlier, the strategies could change, right? 5-year strategic plan, you think that this strategy in year one is going to create this intended outcome, and then next thing you know, COVID happens. Well, it's probably going to be a different strategy. So if you follow that plan, probably not in your best interest if you actually want to reach that intended outcome, because the scenario has so drastically changed. Where am I going with this? So through an inclusive process, we present to the board, not all of the intended outcomes. We identify specific intended outcomes that we're going to uplift for the following 2 years. The forthcoming year, because that's the work of the year. The subsequent year in May, because the board is planning for the subsequent year fiscal, right? For the budgets, right? So we give them both of those. And they change. So what I'm sharing with you is, out of all of those intended outcomes, the board is not one. The board is presented with those. So they're and probe, they can ask questions. Why this one? Why not that one? What do you plan on doing? What are the outcomes with the other intended outcomes? Or what are the results of the other intended outcomes? They can see where we're headed. And then throughout the year, we're actually updating the board on the progress toward our strategic plan intended outcomes and those transformational aspirations, that I mentioned. I've taken, and again, so structure and function, and the board that I'm, just overjoyed to have is a policy board, a fiduciary board. They're a monitoring board, right? So we are really leaning into together how to leverage their responsibilities, and that monitoring responsibility creates an opportunity for us to share back our progress towards our commitments, right? They approved this strategic plan. We said we were going to do these things. It's important to all of us. So it is incumbent upon us to illustrate how we are moving forward or not progressing, and what we're doing to address that in regard to the strategic plan intended outcome. So that's a little bit, I could go deeper, but that's a little bit about how we leverage the strategic plan and how we engage the board and how we keep it live. Actually, I'm going to say one thing additionally is the beginning of each year, we identify what we call, because we have acronyms, SPOLs, SPOLS, right? They're strategic plan outcome leads. So let's say we identified 8 intended outcomes for a specific year, although we're working on several things at all times, right? We have specific leads whose role it is to really coordinate with the individuals around the institution who should be driving that outcome, right? That's someone's role for that year. They are the strategic plan outcome lead, and that's coordinated by our director of planning and policy to see, like, okay, what's the progress on this? Who's in the group? Where are you going? What's working? What's not working? And as I close out on this response, encouraging people to change things that aren't working.
Outstanding.
Noreen, sorry I interrupted you before.
No, jump in whenever. I mean, I'm fascinated by the idea of the leads. It seems so obvious in a way, but engaging your community, your faculty and staff in responsibility for the plan is not as easy as it sounds. So having a structure that directs people to assume, those duties and responsibilities, I think is a really great idea, and making them accountable for it. Not in a vague, abstract way, the way a lot of strategic plans operate, to my experience anyhow. So that's a really good idea, I should think. And I question about all the data tracking and how annually you're serving up your board with the information to benchmark. I guess a lot of that has changed since you've been a leader, as it has for all of us. How to track data, what's the difference between the qualitative and the quantitative, and what's more important. And any comments about that? What's the board really interested in? Is it graduation rate? Is it how's success measured? How's transformation measured?
Yes, yes. And that is one of the great things about that question, and there are several great things about that question, is that is within the transformational aspirations. We've identified what is meaningful for us, right? So it's not one of these things where it's like, oh, student success, we're going to report out on this year and this the next year and this the following year, right? It's like, no, for us, student success means X. Like, so I'll do, for example, so let's take our transformational aspirations. Both our transformational aspirations and strategic plans, they have metrics, right? We know that we want to raise our conversion rate, right? Montgomery County Public Schools, that's our public school. Having worked in New York as my first presidency and having more than 50 school districts in a county about the same size, it's really nice to have one school district.
Inconceivable.
Because you have 50 plus superintendents to work with, and I love they're all great. Nothing against that, but it's a lot of communication, a lot of organization and orchestration.
That's where you change your answer to what used to keep you up at night, and the answer is 50 superintendents, right? That's how you.
Yeah. So it's so when we think about our transformational aspiration around access, we know that we want to see our conversion rate, which is around 20%, high school students attending, percentage of all the high school students attending Montgomery College. Like we know we want that to more than double, right? To around double, right? Like, so we know when we think about our graduation rate, like we know where we want that to be. Like we've identified what the metrics are for success. And obviously that's in the completion component of the transformational aspirations. So when we're reporting out, it's a not only common language, but it's also the commonality or the consistency and common expectation that this is what we're going to be received, which I think in my experience is very helpful, because we can all, I've seen, and I think it's easy to say, well, what about that data point? And what about this data point? And how's that going? It's like, well, no, this is our, this is our dance space, right? Here we are. This is what we agreed is important. This is what we're going to report out on. And I think that that helps immensely when we have those conversations, because as you know, Maureen, Joe, it's like, well, are you going to do, is it iPad's graduation rate? Is it, is it something, are you going to include part-time students? Are you going to do VFA? The Federal Reserve has this new piece that they're doing. Cause I know, cause we've been part of it. So they have, kind of success. Like, is it going to be graduation and transfer, graduation, transfer, and continuation, persistence? Like, what are you going to do? So we've identified what's meaningful to us. So I'll provide an example. For us, when we're looking at graduation rate, we're going to look at FTIC, first time ever in college, not first time full-time degree seeking, first time ever in college. And we've decided that that is a good part of our population. It represents full-time, it represents part-time. So that's something that we've decided on as an institution that we're going to measure. So a little bit of a longer answer, but hopefully there was some substance in that response.
Yeah, no, that's great. I wonder, through all of that, when you're not looking at numbers and writing up charts or looking at charts your staff are doing for you, how much interaction do you get with students? You got 45,000 students, man. That's a lot. How do you Yeah, I imagine just from this podcast, you're as present as you can be given the time and demands of your job. You try and get out there. You can lie and say you're out there 100%, but something you're really conscious of, and it's that face to face or handshake or even virtual face to face. How do you deal with that? Are you committed to that?
I am deeply committed to that. And to the point where, so like little things, I mean, I didn't say there were big things or novel things, or there's little things that go a long way for me. So having to be with the multiple campuses is, arriving early so I can walk around, right? Or staying later, right? And building that into my day so it's not, back to back and he has to leave. And yes, there are some days where it's like, you need to go boom, 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 and you're in and you're out. But providing that opportunity to really be conscientious when you're planning is to, well, yeah, I'm going to show up a few minutes early, right? And I'm going to walk around and I'm just going to talk with folks and see how they're doing, students, faculty, and staff. I think one of the other components, and I can rattle off a bunch of things, but when we have Welcome Week, at every campus, I'm there, I'm tabling, I'm working with our, student life team, right? And our student workers who are there, and I'm engaging with our community. One of the things that I asked, and it was received very, very, very well by senior leaders, the senior vice presidents, is so we have mobile markets, something that I know a lot of colleges and universities have. And so we spend time at mobile markets on each campus as a leadership team, right? So students are seeing us, faculty and staff are seeing us. So there's all these components of which we engage in, I engage in, and others engage in. Again, maybe it's a small thing, it's a big thing for us, but we don't have cabinet the first week of the semester. Like, we're not meeting with each other the first week. The first week of the semester, our job is to be out on the campuses. That's what we're doing. I mean, so we've built in, again, big structure function person. We've built in these opportunities where it's not like, oh, the whole semester went by, I haven't been to a campus, or I haven't been here, or we didn't do this. Like, no, this is how we're going to do it. And this is how we're going to stay engaged. And I gotta say, the Marcom team, especially, I mean, with this, the bow ties and backpacks is great. Students just seem like, oh my goodness, like I saw your video, or they're liking the video, or they're commenting. One of the other pieces, and this is a legacy piece that I've redesigned, but it precedes me, is I do send out a message to the entire college community every Monday, and that's an email. So when students see me, and it has my picture on it, Joe with the bow tie.
Yes.
So
exactly.
when people, and a big smile, right? Because I mean, it's hard. I smile. It's like, it wouldn't
like
be me
that
if I wasn't smiling, right? So when I do see people, they're like, "Hey, are you?" They might not know what I do. Like, you send me an email? Did you send me an email? And I'm like, I send you an email every Monday. You're like the dean or the chair. I'm like, yeah, I work at the college. I care about your success. I'm like, and it's like, so they know. I get that. And I get, and Joe and I have met. I get that. And I'm like, you're taller than I thought.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I've seen you on video, and boy, you're way taller than I thought you'd be. That's so true. What are you, 6'5"? You tall.
No, we're like the same height. I'm like 6'2", 6'3", something like that.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, somewhere.
Listen, one thing I wanted to bring up, because I think it's so relevant. We're in a very higher ed issues and trends. They're fluctuating. We're in a time of fluctuation right now. I try not to go on the political, because I think all sides have to be represented, so I don't represent any. But I will say, you're right in physically, you're in the middle of it. And one way that's showing up, which I find really fascinating, is we have this conversation around the value of higher education, even at the federal level. Mm-hmm. And then you have the Feds to Eds program that you're doing. And you also have displaced federal workers that are coming to community college to reskill so that they can go get a new job. And it's like this cognitive dissonance that's happening right in your backyard. Can you talk a little bit about that relevancy and the reality of the consequences of some of the decisions that are being made around us?
Support the podcast trusted by higher ed leaders. Get early, ad-free access and exclusive leadership content by supporting Elvin and Joe for only $5.99 a month or $44.99 a year. You can also donate or gift a subscription at edupexperience.com. That's edupexperience.com.
Absolutely, and I will start off, and I know full well that we're recording, and I think, and people may have different positions. I think it's fair to say people have different positions just in general. Maybe specifically on what I'm about to say and you mentioned, not getting political, and it's interesting, but having these conversations with peers, and I'm very forthright and forthcoming that what I do is extremely political.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's not partisan. So I want to differentiate. That's the big differentiation that I think we have an opportunity to lean into. What I do is not partisan. What I do is political. Montgomery County has 11 county council members. They have a county executive. We have the largest state delegation in the state delegation in the state. That's redundant. So I testify in political arenas all the time. Local, state, federal. My political alliance, not in terms of what I care about and why I do things in a political nature, is because that's what my job demands. My job demands me to stick up and to represent post-secondary education. It demands that I represent this idea of intellectual curiosity. It demands that I represent this idea of academic freedom. It demands, especially as a community college president, that I represent this idea and these ideas of equitably serving our students, because students from 157 countries, they need different things if they're going to succeed, right? So I'm highly political. Now, if someone's going to endanger, threaten, our mission as an educational institution, as a sector, as post, and it doesn't really matter to me. Well, not doesn't really. It doesn't matter to me where they fall. But it's incumbent upon me to share words, share actions, sign on about that. So I spent, a minute longer than I probably needed to on that, but I just wanted a point of differentiation.
That's an important, and I love being corrected in my own podcast. It's
I wasn't trying to correct you, Joe.
It's fine. Don't worry about me. No, but it's true. I mean, I think that's totally the right word. Is you're fighting. Really, you're fighting every day for the students. You're securing funding. You're maintaining and moving relationships around, because in the end, it's all about the student. And in that area, I'm giving you a hard time about correcting me, but it's true. We all are, right? If we're fighting for students, then we have to be political in some way. Partisan is the difference. You're right. Now, what's happening in your area? Because the impact is there, right?
The impact is absolutely there, as you mentioned, Joe. I mean, we have. So I think we had we had a job fair for displaced federal workers, specifically with STEM backgrounds, right? Specifically, so we engaged biotech industries, something like AstraZeneca and Charles River Laboratory and Millsport Sigma, and a bunch of places that people around here know, and probably people listening to the podcast will know if they're into biotech and things like that, and really bringing them to our Germantown location to share their mission, their values, the opportunities at their organizations. Because we're talking about highly skilled individuals, right, who are looking for their next, or I would say not based on their decision, looking for their next opportunity. Yeah. And so trying to align their knowledge, skills, abilities, passions with different industries. And then at the same time, the latter part of that, having, opportunities for interviews, having opportunities for, resume review, having opportunities for headshots. A lot of the individuals, and this is kind of the depth of this, when we think about this, and especially as a community college, individuals went into these roles thinking this was a safe role. This was a lifetime role. This was a role that either, that I may have had for a while. They're not updating their resume every 2 years to get a new job. They're not out practicing interviews. They're not out doing these like, let me my LinkedIn headshot because someone might want, a lot of people came into these jobs for the future that it promised. Yeah. Right. And now here they are. So it's much more than just what are you going to do next? There's a lot, wrapped up into this. And based on where we are in DC, when I think about when I think about the USDA, that's here, I think about NIH, I think about NIST, I think about all the federal agencies that are in Montgomery County alone, not just the DMV, but just Montgomery County alone. It was absolutely incumbent upon us as a community college to step up and be not just a resource, but a conduit, a platform, a point of connectivity, so that individuals, really can continue to have the life that they deserve to have. And not just them. We're not talking about individuals who like, okay, I can hang out at a friend's house for a few months after graduation. And these are people with families. These are people with, with commitments, right, that no longer have jobs or will not in a few months. So those are some of the things that we did. Our governor, who's awesome, Wes Moore, is, the Moore Miller administration, and, they are putting in precedes with the blueprint for Maryland's future is a multi-year, multi-billion-dollar education legislation. Not nothing, but separate from Feds to Eds. But just I'm sharing that to illustrate the Moore Miller commitment to education. So he recently, as you shared, created and introduced Feds to Ed, and he's putting forward money so that institutions like Montgomery College, who have had accelerated programs for career changers, can deepen and strengthen those programs and serve more individuals. And what it is again, accelerated. It gets you the training, the knowledge to be able to be certified so you can be a classroom teacher. So
amazing.
Love it. Noreen, I'm going to kick it back over to you.
Yeah, clearly what you're talking about is responding to a very unstable moment. It's one thing this is all teaching us, I guess, is, importance of being nimble. And of course, COVID taught us that, whether we wanted to be or not. And I'm curious, in view of all this instability, whether are you graduating students now who have been through COVID, or are you through that cohort?
So I would say, I don't have the numbers in front of me, so I always like to preface.
But generally, yeah.
Yeah, so I say this based on when COVID, quote unquote, ended, and knowing that but 2/3 of our students are part-time. Yeah, I think I'm accurate in saying, yes, we still have students who are engaged with Montgomery College and their educational pathway who started during COVID. I think it's a fair assessment. I can get you exact numbers, but I can stand on that in generality. So
yeah, I'm just curious because as with my university here in Canada, same thing. We're really conscious of the fact that at our commencement ceremonies, we're saying, we really feel for you guys, but you made it, you're here, you're graduated. Huge accomplishment given what you've gone through. It's just a hard lesson for everybody to have learned, but those who have made it have a kind of special quality of resilience, and at least that's my reading of what's happening to this graduating cohort last year, this year, and probably for another year or so. And who knows what's next around the horizon. But I think one thing university and college presidents are prepared for these days is the surprise factor, the black swan factor, the uncertainty of the environment we're in, geopolitically, politically, everything. So it's as I started to say earlier, it's a tough job, but you seem to be enjoying it. I think hearing you speak makes me think that, you've got a cool job. You're doing cool things, and that's really important. I'm sure students pick up on that. That's really key, even if they don't know that you're running the shop.
Yeah, that's not important. It's not. It's like people ask me, what do you do? I share the office that I work in, not the role that I have, and I share what my goal is to support, student success and help create conditions for success in general for our students, our faculty, and staff. But I don't know. The whole position thing is, a position thing. It's a
maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the bigger part of that though is culture does eat strategy for breakfast. Right. We sort of round this out. We were talking about strategic plan, that goes nowhere if you don't have the culture and the people. And I'm looking at your background right now that you have, and people can't see it, but it's students or staff mobilized and moving somewhere. It looks like a march or a parade or something. I know that you're active. I know that your students are active through our mutual contacts. That culture that you're driving, the culture of community, the culture of service, of involvement, of visibility, is the only way you can get things done, truly, that your staff has to be and your students have to be motivated to engage, right?
Absolutely. And this is back to an earlier question, Noreen, you had, and I just thank you, Joe, for pointing that out, because it makes me think is, how do I stay connected? How do I engage with students? And this is a visual. This is when I see this, when I log on, even if I'm in meetings back to back on Zoom and I log on and that's what I see, that keeps me engaged to students, even though I'm not actively talking with them. It helps to, really center, the work that I'm doing, that we're doing, and it impacts other people. Joe, to your point, people say that's a great background. Those are your students, that's why we're here. It's kind of similar to my phone, like those long days. You made me think like my phone screensaver is it's a few years old, but it's me, which is not the point, but it's graduates. So I'm literally with, the point is I'm with students at their completion. We're all in regalia, and I've had that, and it's just ways that, because the job is tough, as you said, Noreen, as we know. But what are the small things that work for you? These work for Jermaine, to help keep you wherever you want to be, wherever it is you want to be. Right? I'm where I need to keep myself where I want to be. Other people need to keep themselves where they want to be. So they need to do what works for them.
In the last 5 minutes, as we close, we like to give everybody sort of the final two questions. The first one's not really a question, but I like open mics. And so I don't know if you want to sing or you want to rap or you want to give a poem, but what else do you want to say about Montgomery College, maybe that we haven't covered? Anything that's on your mind that you want the audience to know about Montgomery College? And then close us out with what you see for the future of higher education.
Wow. So sing, rap, that is, two things that I definitely have engaged in, and probably am not going to at this point in time.
Fair. Maybe on another podcast.
Yeah, maybe next time, maybe another podcast. But things that something that I haven't shared, or something that I have shared, just to amplify about Montgomery College is, and I'm not sharing this because we're the only college that believes this. I don't work at every college. I work at Montgomery College. And what I will share with the open mic piece, Joe, is it is an absolute pleasure, is an understatement. I am moment by moment, hour by hour, day by day, week by week, immensely overjoyed and truly humbled to work at Montgomery College, to work with individuals who truly believe that the Montgomery College experience is one that can facilitate social transformation for our students, to be surrounded by faculty and staff, shoulder to shoulder, whether virtually via Zoom or Teams or physically, with people who have that deep belief that education and Montgomery College education and experience can truly change lives, transform families, and really address the inequities and inequalities that we see in society. Is it's powerful. It's something that I lean into. It's something that I am deeply appreciative and truly grateful for.
I love it. What do you see for the future of higher ed?
Oh, future of higher education. Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's interesting. So where do we go with this? I was like, do you want me to do the AI piece? Do you want me to do,
whatever you think.
It's there's a lot of pieces. There's a lot of pieces to it. Obviously, what do you learn in your doctoral program? What's the best answer is it depends, right? So I will say, out of the many things you can pick, and AI, and how we're looking at our agents and what that will look like, and looking at AI through the lens of what can be automated, what can be augmented, what's intrinsically human, and kind of that framework as we delve into the fifth industrial revolution, which some posit maybe we're like there, and others would say we're still in the fourth OIT. But so I could do all that, and that's great, and how we leverage it for good, and analyze it and think critically about it. I do want to share this piece. We talk a lot about living wages, and one of the things I mentioned earlier, and I hope it didn't get lost, was that we endeavor to have all of our opportunities have economic, social, and community impacts. And I do think there is this huge opportunity for the future of higher education collectively to really focus on all of that together, right?
100%.
So having, right, making a good living and living a good life, right? Getting the funds and whatever it is you need in order to live the life that you want to, making good living and having a good life, being able to have this type of conversation with three individuals who are intellectually curious, being able to, probe and amplify, being able to disagree without being disagreeable, and all those other kind of cliche phrases, being able to not necessarily, have the same experiences as people, but understand the depth and breadth of someone's experience and what it means to them. Being engaged in your community. I think there's the future of higher education. I see us really, I hope that we're really focused on it holistically. It's not just widgets, right? It's we're not just fighting, STEM versus liberal arts. It's the whole thing, right? It's society, and it's how we advance as a society. So there's some, I could talk about some other things too, but.
I love it. Noreen, what did you think about your first co-hosted episode here on the EdUp Experience?
Well, I'd say I lucked out because I have a very chatty, smart, inspiring subject here to talk to. And I'd love to talk even longer because I think you've got some great ideas, but really terrific energy. I feel really lucky for this. I'm coming from, obviously Canadian perspective, but we share all the same challenges and objectives. And I'm serving on a board called Studiosity that's really very student facing. And that's why I'm here. I've been doing podcasts for that organization that's really trying to harness technology and AI for the public good, for student learning. So building frameworks within this kind of chaotic, very fast moving technical change has been a really important part of what we do. And, some podcasts are more lively than others. This was, as I say, I think I really lucked out.
Well, I think we all lucked out. Bow ties and backpacks. You can follow that. We're gonna put that stuff in the show notes so that people can access these episodes. I feel like you told a really good story today, Jermaine, and we learned a lot about Montgomery College, about your passion and the impact that you're having. That's the whole point of doing this, is to highlight the work, the noble and good work that we do and our colleagues do across higher education. So it's an honor to have you here. We hope you had a good time too, my friend.
I had a great time. I appreciate the invitation, Joe. Noreen, I appreciate the co-hosting. This has been absolutely enjoyable. So thank you. Thank you both.
Ladies and gentlemen, here he is.
Thank you. Thank you.
He's Dr. Jermaine F. Williams. He's the president of Montgomery College, and you've just EdUp'd.
Stay ahead of the conversation in higher ed. Get early, ad-free access, and exclusive leadership content by supporting Elvin and Joe. $5.99 per month or $44.99 a year. You can also donate or gift a subscription at edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com.